Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final Golden Globe winner predictions. They're happening this freaking Sunday, January 7th, I think. Not 7th, 10th. No, I think it is the 7th. Oh my God. Um, and I'm going to be giving this is going to be a pretty quick video. I'm just going to be giving you my predictions on who I think is going to be winning at the ceremony. I think a lot of these categories are pretty predictable for the most part. Anthony, unfortunately, not able to join me. But I think we probably agree on pretty much everything besides like one or two categories. What will be interesting is obviously, as we saw with the nominations, they added a bunch of new members to the voting group. I think it's around like 300 people now instead of 80 people it was beforehand. So as we saw at the nominations, I think they made more like almost like critics groupy picks, some more inspired picks with the nomination. So I think it is worth looking at the when you look at who you're going to pick to win. I think maybe lean a little more towards where the critics are going right now, whereas picking winners that would be maybe more like who the Golden Globes used to pick in previous years. Um, so that's what I'm doing with the predicting. I'm going more based off of critics stuff rather than previous Golden Globe stuff. I would imagine it's the freaking Golden Globes that there'll be one or two, like probably at least one, like surprise per se. But let's just, without further ado, get into it with our first category, Best Film Drama. I'm going with the obvious pick here. I am going with Oppenheimer. I think most people are. I think it's a lot closer than I think a lot of people probably think it is. I think it's Killers of the Flower Moon could come up very close there because when you look at who's winning a lot of the critics picture awards, I think Killers of the Flower Moon is doing a lot better than Oppenheimer is there. Oppenheimer has not been doing incredible in terms of like winning picture with critics groups. So if they do lean more criticky, I could see Killers of the Flower Moon taking it, honestly. I think it's like this close because I could also see Killers of the Flower Moon taking a similar like route that Fablemans took at the Globes last year, winning, which we'll get into with director as well, winning picture and director for like the stalwart, older, respected director in their film, seen as one of probably their most important final films. I could see it taking that route right now, but I do think Oppenheimer is just too hard for them to resist. So I'm saying it's going to be Oppenheimer, but I would look out like very much so. Keep your eye on Killers of the Flower Moon for sure. Nothing else here really has a chance to win. But I think Past Lives is probably the third most competitive of the group. It will not probably win, though. So, moving on to Best Actress Drama. Once again, I think this is another pretty obvious category if you look at who's winning the most critics awards with Best Actress, because once again, I think they're going to be leaning a little more criticky. Lily Gladstone is far and away the front runner there with Emma Stone, the obvious number two, and then I think Sandra Hüller is number three, but she's not winning nearly as much as I would have thought she would, or as she deserves. Um, but yeah, I think this is pretty obviously Lily Gladstone's going to win this. She's going to give a great speech. I think it will help her even more on the route to an Oscar. But yeah, this is pretty obvious to me. Sandra Hüller's number two, but I don't. The critics haven't really even been going for her, so I don't think the Globes will either. So pretty easy. Now let's get into something juicy here with Best Actor Drama. This is at one of the juicier ones, as you can see. I haven't even scrolled down yet. Cillian Murphy, I've got him winning. I've switched. I think Cillian Murphy's gonna. I used to think Bradley Cooper could win, but I think seeing I wasn't a huge fan of Maestro, but or Maestro, however you say it. People, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But I wasn't a huge fan of it. But leaving NIF, the New York Film Festival, I felt like an outlier. I felt like lots of people loved it, but now that it hit the general public, it seems a lot more divisive, more what I expected. Um, but I mean, I don't know how much that actually hurts Bradley Cooper's chances, The Whale, et cetera, et cetera. Plenty of divisive actor winners in the past. But I do think Oppenheimer is just going to be so strong that I think it's going to take Cillian Murphy with it. And I do think here, I don't know. I think they didn't go for him for A Star Is Born here. I think they're not going to go for him either with Maestro. I think, especially since they're once again leaning more criticky. Who's won the most critic awards and Best Actor? I don't know if it is Killian. I think Cillian Murphy has won the most. Yes, Cillian Murphy has won the most awards for Best Actor. He has, I believe, 29 nominations and 11 wins is what it's looking at. I am using friend of the channel, Trevor from Oscar Buzz. He has an awards tracker. And Bradley Cooper is down there with 18 nominations and 2 wins. So, and Bradley Cooper is placed number 5 there amongst the actors. So I do think because they're going to be once again leaning more criticky, I should stop bringing it up. That's the way I'm predicting here. I think they're going to be more criticky than most years. So I'm going with Cillian Murphy. It's between those two though. That's really it. But I wouldn't be shocked if Bradley Cooper won. We'll have to see. moving on to best film slash comedy musical. This is pretty easy as well. I think it's obviously going to be Barbie. I think they're not going to be able to deny the option of doing the Barbenheimer double win, but I think Barbie is more strong here and more confident in this win than Oppenheimer is in drama. I do think the number two would probably be Poor Things. They could go for that kind of weirder Fox Searchlight movie that they went for, like with Banshees last year, but this is even weirder. And I believe Barbie is doing better than Poor Things in terms of critic stuff. Let's take a look. Yes, Barbie has 26 nominations, whereas Poor Things has 25. So it's actually pretty close. It's pretty close between them. Um, so, Jesus, why is it so laggy? So I'm leaning Barbie. I feel pretty decent about it, but if anything is going to upset, it would be Poor Things. But I would say Barbie's going to win this. Best film, comedy slash musical actress. Pretty obviously going to be Emma Stone, I think. Once again, it'll be hopefully a pretty quick video because I think a lot of these categories are pretty sewn up. Emma Stone, as I said, the second most awarded actress so far with the critics groups. Um, I think this is probably where they're going to choose to award the movie, I had to guess. And her competition here, I mean, Margot Robbie, they'd go for her if they like really loved Barbie, but I don't think they're going to do that. I would love to see Natalie Portman win. That would be amazing. So, Fantasia Barrino, her film did pretty terribly here, and then I think Boytsy and Lawrence don't really have a chance at all for a win. So I think Emma Stone's pretty much got this locked up in the bag. I think it's really our two Golden Globe winners here are really for actress going to be fighting it out for the Oscar. I think we've got Stone versus Gladstone for Best Actress this season. Now moving on to Best Actor, Comedy or Musical, we have Paul Giamatti. He's going to win. I feel pretty good about him. I think he's obviously number three in Best Actor as well, behind Cillian Murphy and Bradley Cooper. I think his film is stronger than The Holdovers. Or I think his film The Holdovers is stronger than American Fiction. But both of them did a little bit underperform here, just a little bit. Both of them missed screenplay and director. I think I don't know how much that. I think that might hurt their screenplay chances, but I think if you have to pick between these two, I think Giamatti has more of the narrative. I do think his film still overall did better. It got into at least one more category with supporting actress. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think Giamatti, there's a lot of respect for him, and I think there's a lot of respect for his performance. And yeah, it's between once again those two, and I feel pretty good about Giamatti. But if Jeffrey Wright wins, that'll be amazing as well. But I think Giamatti is competitive to potentially upset and win the Oscar, kind of like last kind of like with Olivia Colman, Glenn Close, and Lady Gaga, where Glenn Close and Lady Gaga competed in the drama categories, I believe, at the Golden Globe. I think that's when Glenn Close won, and then Olivia Colman won in the comedy actress category and kind of snuck up there and ended up winning in the end. So maybe I don't think that'll happen, but maybe. But I think he's probably going to win here. Moving on now to Best Film Supporting Actress. This is once again very, very easy. I mean, Divine Joy Randolph has been sweeping all of the Critics Awards, and the Golden Globes, I think, are going to be more criticky this year. So I feel pretty confident about her winning here. I think if anyone would upset, it might be. I don't even know if it would be Julianne Moore. I think she's doing the second best in terms of supporting actress nominations for all the critic awards so far for May December, but maybe they give Color Purple a little boost with Danielle Brooks, but they don't seem once again because the critics haven't been doing. This is another reason to think they'll vote a little more critically. The critics haven't been loving the Color Purple in terms of giving it nominations and stuff, and the Golden Globes didn't either. So once again, they're acting a little more like those groups this year. So I don't think Danielle Brooks will win. And I mean, Rosamund Pike and Jodie Foster have both had surprise wins at the Golden Globes before in the past, in the same year, I believe. But I don't think either of them are. I don't think often supporting actress is the category in the Golden Globes where you do get surprise wins, like Jodie Foster and Nyad, or um, I don't know that it's happened in other times in the past, but or Jodie Foster and Martinian, not Nyad. But I feel pretty confident that this is not where we'll be getting our surprise. But you know, maybe in Best Supporting Actor is where we will get our surprise in. My predicted winner, Charles Melton. I think lots of people are either between one of these two winning, either that RDJ or Ryan Gosling winning for Barbie. I think Charles Melton is going to win this category. Once again, let's look at the critics. Although it is closer in this category than I would have thought it would be. Um, yeah, Robert Downey Jr. has the most nominations and wins. Ugh, how? But either way, Charles Melton, I think perceived as doing better with the critic awards than Robert Downey Jr. is. He has 25 nominations and 7 wins, to RDJ's 28 and 9, and Ryan Gosling's 25 and 5 wins. So it is definitely between those three. I'm going Charles Melton. I think a lot of the big critic groups have gone for Charles Melton. I think that's a lot of the people who are in the big critics groups. I think are potentially new members of the Golden Globe as well, who are added into that 300. And they go for this kind of stuff before. They've gone for like the young, like surprise, like rising star. What's his name? They went with Aaron Taylor Johnson for that movie. I forget what the movie is called. I think Nocturnal Animals, was that it? They went for him with that. They've done it before in this category. I think they're going to do it, and I think then he's going to give an amazing speech, and I think he's still win competitive for the Oscar. I don't think this category is as sewn up as people think it is, with RDJ being the winner. I think once the like true televised awards, like especially guilds and stuff, like with SAG, once that begins, I think RDJ potentially could just begin to sweep, because I mean he's got much more of an industry narrative than Charles Melton does, but Charles Melton has a very strong narrative as well. I think stronger than Gosling's for sure. I think this I mean, and he fits. I think I've tweeted about this before. He fits the recent Best Supporting Actor winners of um, being this supportive, sympathetic father figure who like ends up making you very emotional and crying towards the end, like Troy Kotzer, like Ki Hee Kwan. And honestly, out of all these characters, he's the only one who's not like he's the only one who's explicitly a good person. But I don't know how much that truly matters. They go for evil people in supporting actor plenty of times, but I'm choosing to believe in Charles Melton in this category. I think he'll be probably the biggest surprise of the night, if I were to guess. Best director, I mean, do we even have to say anything? I think Christopher Nolan, once again, sweeping pretty much everything. He will win this. I do think if anyone upsets here, I do think it would be Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, like I mentioned with the Fablemans thing. He could be an upset like veteran director who we want to like give a spotlight like one of the last few times we possibly can. One of his last films, truly a masterwork of his filmography. I could see them going that route, but I think Fablemans didn't have something as strong as Oppenheimer against it last year. It did have, everything I've heard was in a separate category, so it didn't have something as strong as Oppenheimer against it. So I think that's why that happened in the drama categories last year. It probably won't happen this year, but I think it's still possible. So I would still keep an eye on it, but I think this is obviously Nolan's now, I think, probably the hardest category in terms of predicting a win here, because they combine them. Best screenplay, I'm saying Poor Things. I'm not very confident about this. Honestly, half the winners that they end up picking don't end up even winning the Oscar. I mean, Trial of Chicago 7. Um, like, who was it last year? Who didn't win the Oscar? Banshees didn't win the Oscar, but yeah, I mean, they have a pretty bad track record in terms of their winners ending up to win the Oscar, like 50-50. So I don't think Poor Things will win the adapted screenplay Oscar, so I think maybe that fits the bill of trying to honor one of the films that they didn't. This is kind of sometimes where they honor a film that they didn't give a lot of other love to. So I think I'm gonna just throw out Poor Things right now. I could also see this is where they want to honor Scorsese and Killers of the Flower Moon, which is also, I think, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, Past Lives, Oppenheimer, and Anatomy of a Fall, almost, and all obviously Barbie. I think all of them have around like 20 or so nominations so far for their respective screenplay categories. So it's tricky. I think in terms of wins, I think Oppenheimer has won the most screenplay awards thus far, but I don't think it's going to win here, because I think it could potentially win the Oscar. Same goes for Barbie. I think that could also win adapted screenplay. I think Past Lives, now that Barbie is in um, adapted screenplay, which I always thought it would be, and shout out to me. Um, I think Past Lives will probably win the Oscar, so I don't have a winning here. So I don't know. That's my logic. It probably doesn't make sense, but I think what I'm picking here probably won't end up winning the Oscar, which is what happens oftentimes in this category. So I'm going with Poor Things. It's a little weird and wacky, kind of like Banshees last year. But yeah, I'm not very confident in that at all. Moving on to something I'm more confident in: Best Animated Feature. I think they'll go for Spider-Verse. They could go for Boy and the Heron, but Spider-Verse is still leading the Critics Awards so far, so I think they'll probably go for that. It's between those two. Nothing else that really has a shot. This is another tricky one because they threw a wrench in the nominations. Best non-English film. They've got Past Lives nominated here, even though I mean, it's the same thing they did with Minari, Farewell, all of that. Um, so I don't know. I think they clearly probably liked Past Lives more than any other film here. It got more nominations than I believe any other film here. Maybe not. Maybe it tied with like Zone of Interest because I know it got director and Anatomy of a Fall, and they both got actress and international and drama. Um, but I think it's probably the most beloved of these, and I think this is probably the place where they're voting, they see they can most realistically get it a win, and I think it's definitely so far the best performer out of all of these movies in terms of critics' accolades. So I think they're going to do the stupid thing and go with Past Lives, even though I don't think it should even be in this category. But I'd still be happy to see Past Lives win a Golden Globe. I mean, it's another chance to. I think Celine Song would probably accept the Golden Globe on behalf of the film. So it's a way to honor the film that is probably like just missing in other categories, or not just missing, but obviously they love in other categories. They nominated in director, actress, and etc. So I think they want to give it love somewhere, and it'll probably be here. But it could be Anatomy of a Fall. I think it's really only those two. I don't think they'll go for Zone, maybe, but those bottom. I mean, they went for Argentina 1985. Is I think the right year. Don't quote me on that. Sometimes they do wacky stuff, but I don't think they will this year. I think Past Lives are Anatomy. I'm going Past Lives, obviously. Score is another category where sometimes they do wacky things. I don't think, once again, they're going to this year. I think Oppenheimer has been doing the best so far in the score awards with all of the groups thus far. But Killers of the Flower Moon has been, I think, is the clear number two here. Robbie Robertson's final score for a film. But they also never awarded Ludwig for Black Panther, which he won the Oscar for. I think they gave it to Beale Street that year, so he's never won a Golden Globe. So I think they'll probably give it to him here. If I were to guess, song is another pretty easy one. I would have What Was I Made For winning. I think it's going to be sweeping this category. I know some people think it's going to be I'm Just Ken. I just don't understand that. I think it's obviously What Was I Made For is the emotional climax centerpiece of the film. It's a much bigger hit than I'm Just Ken. I'm sorry. I look at TikTok. What Was I Made For has nearly like 2 million uses of that sound, where I'm Just Ken I think only has like 100,000. It's obviously the bigger hit. It plays on radios still. I'm Just Ken. I don't know if that ever played on the radio. It's more of a joke song. What Was I Made For is more of an emotional song. It's sweeping people. Plus, it's Billie Eilish. I didn't even add the fact that it's Billie Eilish, who's campaigning as well, and everyone loves Billie Eilish. She'll have a second Oscar. She was the first person born in the 21st century to get an Oscar, and she'll get her second one before anyone else born in the 21st century gets an Oscar. So, in case you're also born in the 21st century and want to feel terrible about yourself, that's a great statistic. Now this final stupid category, I guess I'll give it a little spotlight. Best cinematic box office achievement. I think they're already awarding Barbie in the comedy category, and if there's this is I guess one of my more old Golden Globes, their old habits of like voting for like stars and just some of the weird stuff that they did in the past. This is where I'm applying that into this category, because I think they'll probably, because they're already giving Barbie comedy category, and I think Barbie and Oppenheimer. I mean, Barbenheimer was the box office event, so maybe it like splits votes between them of which one's more of a box office achievement. And then Taylor Swift Eras Tour, which I think had a lot of attention for how much of an achievement it was box office wise. Taylor Swift is the Time Person of the Year. It's the grossed $1 billion. The tour, not the actual movie, but the tour grossed over $1 billion this year. The movie did. I think it's in like the top 10 of the year. I think it's like number 10, at least domestically. So, and I think it's a chance. She's never won a Golden Globe. The Golden Globes like Taylor Swift more than any other awards body, really. She's got multiple nominations there, whereas I don't think she's even ever been nominated for an Oscar. So this is her chance to finally give her an award, because they like her more than everyone else. And if she shows up, I mean, especially if she shows up, it's a chance for her to give a speech, for it to get a lot of attention to the Golden Globes this year. I don't know if she would go, but even if she doesn't go, I'm sure if she knew she was winning in advance, she'd send like a video thing that they could play. So yeah, either way, I feel pretty actually decent about her winning this, even though I think Barbie, yeah, is number one of the stats, but Taylor Swift is number two. It's obviously, I think, between those two. So I'm going to go with that. So yeah, that concludes our prediction, or not our, my. I think Anthony would agree with me with about everything here except for supporting actor. He'd probably go for RDJ, which makes more sense probably. But that's my one place I'm taking a little swingy swing. So yeah, those are my Golden Globes predictions for the 2024 winners. We'll probably be doing or at least I will. I don't know if Anthony will be joining a reaction / breakdown the night of. That probably will come out either the night of or the morning after. We've got SAG. We've got this like SAG DGA PGA Guild prediction video / stream. on Friday, I believe. So tomorrow, by the time this video comes out, we'll have that happening. BAFTA long lists, I believe, is also that day. So we'll see. I think we'll probably have a separate video for that. The Emmys are freaking January 15th. Kill me. Then freaking so much is happening, guys. There'll be a lot going on, so don't you worry. You'll be seeing a lot of me lately, to but I think a lot of your chagrin probably. But yeah, that is my Golden Globe winner predictions. Comment who you think is going to be winning down below. Like, subscribe. I mean, I just said all the stuff that's coming to this channel. You want to subscribe? I know you do. So subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.